final piece I'm going to mention now, and that we should dive into more deeply later on, is having active peer collaboration and feedback. I think the first part is more common, right? Peers working together, talking together, sharing ideas. That's a pretty common aspect of social emotional learning groups. But again, this is obviously a really important part, because if students are going to practice this and experience this in a real way and really fail in a real way, it's going to come from practicing with their peers, right? They're going to work together in groups. They will get frustrated, and then they have an opportunity to either use the skills, practice the habits, or not, right? And we can create those opportunities for them by more regularly having peer collaboration. But the next piece of that is the feedback, right? Because if peers aren't used to giving each other feedback and you don't develop that culture, what can happen is they're in those groups working together, doesn't go very well, and upon self-reflection, the other student doesn't realize that they didn't do the greatest job of practicing that habit. They actually think they did it great, right? If they can't get constructive feedback from their peers that, hey, that didn't go so well, or to later hear what went on and get the feedback from their peers, it's going to be a lot less strong. They're a lot less likely to really develop the skill appropriately. And what happens, especially in a class of young students and a teacher, right? The teacher doesn't actually always know what's going on. Imagine that, right? We don't know what's going on at all times in a group. So we may think that a student's actually doing a great job of demonstrating a communication skill, when actually everybody else in the group is just quiet because they're intimidated by that person and they don't want to talk. So if you create structures for feedback, maybe anonymous feedback, maybe direct, right? You can start sussing out how students are doing with each other and their skills, and are they practicing it all the time? Is it a habit all the time? Or are they just doing it when they know it counts as a grade or in front of somebody or something like that, right? So peer feedback is a really important part to separate out sort of teacher judgment and our limited view of what's going on and knowledge of what's going on, and allowing students to really help each other learn and grow. So a couple different versions of this, right, are definitely debriefs, right? Like there's always a chance for a debrief, right? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, end of the day, whatever. Taking a second to really look at a situation and have people talk about what happened, what could have been done differently, how could we have done that better, what will we do next time, right? You can do that about anything. Anything that goes wrong in your classroom, great chance to have a turn and talk, have students work together and come up with a plan, or do it as a whole group. Okay, debriefs, one of the easiest methods to use in terms of time, and highly recommend it, but you get a lot of payback from this process as long as you kind of follow up and build a culture around it. Accountable talk is another piece. This is how students talk to each other to kind of engage each other at a deeper level, in a more respectful, professional level. Linking to some resources there. You can look that up. Having group member roles and responsibilities is very important. Often we put students in a group and we figure that they're going to just practice skills or work together. If you don't have clear roles or responsibilities, then what generally happens is somebody takes over, a bunch of other people get quiet, and no one's really practicing the skills or learning from it. They're just following into their normal roles. So we need to assign them new ones to give them the power to kind of step up in those situations. Peer critiques, we talked about this a little bit, but creating opportunities for peers to give each other critique and feedback and practice that process. And finally, peer assessment, right? This can be from a social emotional skill perspective. Hey, I'm going to assess how you're doing. Like, I don't actually generally feel like you speak to me in a way that respects me. Therefore, maybe we're not speaking to be heard very well, right? Things like that. There's other ways to do that assessment, and I would love to hear more from other people, because this is something that we're definitely working on, but it's a key piece of this peer collaboration and feedback for to strengthen your social emotional learning culture and development.